Happy Thursday, everyone. It is NFL Week 12. It's time for your primetime preview here. Last call on WagerTalk. We got the Buffalo Bills taking on the Houston Texans. Now, this one opening at a 2.5-point favorite for the Buffalo Bills on the road, now up to 5.5 across the majority of the books. Houston, and now that home dog price looking pretty good, pretty tempting out there. The total opening at 43, now 44.5 on the majority of the books. A 44 just did drop on Sports 411. So moving down from that 44.5. Open your odds logic page, you guys, with us so you can get in on the best of the lines. And in the live chat here, make sure you drop the questions for the handicappers I've got in today. So the Prez is stepping up first. We'll then have Sean Alvarez. He's got some great props for you guys. So it's time to get going. Let's start talking this one. Let's bring in the Prez.
Nice to be here, Joe. Excited. There's a lot of sporting events going on tonight. We got some college football, college hoops, NBA, NHL. You name it, I'll talk about it, Joe.
Oh, I'm excited for that. We've got so much, like you said, going on. Best time of year, right? Looking at all of these sports going on right now. But Thursday night football, well, let's start with that. You guys drop your questions, drop your comments for Perez here. You shocked with this line movement? 2.5 at opening for the Bills, now up to 5.5-point favorite?
I mean, look, firstly, you got to be careful with the opening line specifically because they put a line up for 1 second and then they make an adjustment, but the 1 second line remains. So I don't really consider -2.5 the opening line on this game. Look, I get it. The wise guys, smart people, they love defense. The general public loves offense. And, you have one of those clear divides where the general public probably looks to bet Buffalo and the smart, wise people look to bet Houston. I look to bet neither, but I don't know what that makes me, a wimp or the wisest of them all. You guys can decide.
Probably the wisest, right? Probably the wisest of them all. This one.
I'll break this game down for you here. You got a Buffalo team that's sitting at 7-3 on the year. This team needs to win the division. It's very important, and they need to have home field advantage, and there is a pathway for them to get that. It's not like New England is going to run the table. New England is going to lose games potentially this coming week. Who knows? Ultimately, okay, they're likely going to win this week. They're, I think, -8.5, but hey, they're on the road. They could lose. Buffalo needs to win football games, and I think they do. I think this is a veteran team. And every year we see this team have moments of horribleness, right? I mean, we got Green Bay -6.5 against Minnesota this week. Should we bet Minnesota simply because Green Bay lost at home to Carolina and on the road to Cleveland? These are overreaction scenarios. Who's better, Buffalo or Houston? If we put all records aside and everything aside, if they played on neutral ground, I say Buffalo beats them by a touchdown more often than not. Now they're playing in Houston, and they have a backup quarterback. Am I to assume that Davis Mills, who barely beat Tennessee, is going to go out there and keep pace with Josh Allen? I get that Houston's defense is really, really good. But are they really, really, really good? I don't know. I mean, they've played two teams that have a strong quarterback. Jacksonville, mediocre quarterback. They put up 29 on Houston in a crucial must-win game for Houston. They got it done offensively, but their defense didn't stand up. They let 29 in. Seattle put up 27. You go through the rest of the schedule, Tennessee put up 13. Denver, who is horrible offensively, put up 18. San Fran, 15. Baltimore without anybody, 10. I get that Houston has had moments of defensive glory, but Buffalo is almost unstoppable when they're in rhythm. Carolina held Buffalo to 9. Other than that, Buffalo just put up, Carolina did not hold Buffalo to 9. My apologies. Atlanta held Buffalo to 14. Other than that, Miami 13. 44, 28, 40, 20, 31, 31, 30, 41. I think Buffalo puts up 24 points tonight. The team total of Buffalo is 24 and a half. I think they could get us to 24. I think they could get us to 27. I don't think Houston can keep pace. Now, I'm not telling you to go bet Buffalo at -6, -5.5. I just don't understand the love for Houston here. I don't get it. I think Buffalo goes up. They turn Houston into a one-dimensional offense, takes Chubb out of the game, forces Davis Mills to throw the ball. Next thing you know, you have a pick six, then another, and it's 40-3. So I don't want to bet Buffalo here because they've laid an egg a couple of times this year and they were horrible. But if a gun was held to my head and I had to pick a side in this game, I would regretfully take the favorite and not the underdog.
Okay, so Buffalo, gun to your head, Prez, laying the 5.5. There is a 5 that just dropped at BetMGM. It's -105.
Irrelevant numbers. 5,
Yeah.
5.5, 4.5. Yeah. Those are not important. There is a total in this game, though, Joe. And, the total is more interesting to me. Again, you have a lot of wise people looking to play the under. I am not. I am going to again go square and look to play the over. Anytime there's a number 44 and lower in a Buffalo game, take that over the total blind. Why? Buffalo can put up 40 points themselves on anybody. You could put an all-star defensive unit together, and Buffalo's going to put up scores on them. So's Detroit, so's Indianapolis, so's Kansas City. I get the defense rules, but it's not like Buffalo's going to be shut out here, and Houston's going to have no choice but to keep pace. If you get a 24-21 game, which feels like a legitimate score here, 24.5 is the team total for Buffalo, and I think 20.5 is the team total for Houston. So 24-21 is a reasonable score. Well, that takes us over the total of 44, 43.5. So I think if you take Buffalo and the over, I don't see you going 0-2 here.
Yeah, I couldn't see you going 0-2. That's a very good point. What are your thoughts here on Josh Allen? We know he was Superman in that last game. 3 rushing touchdowns, 3 passing touchdowns, so 6 touchdowns in total. Are you expecting him to use his legs again in this one versus Houston, especially if they're stopping all his running backs?
Well, given that Buffalo is having problems running the ball right now, James Cook, although I do see that turning around, that's not going to be indicative. But Houston has a great run D. I think you're going to see Josh Allen run the ball. But the way I like to attack Josh Allen rushing yards is I'd rather wait for the game to start, because the bottom line is he doesn't want to run. And that's why we don't see him run early. It's not in Josh Allen or the Buffalo Bills' best interest for their one and only superstar to start running around the field for no reason early on in a game when he could ultimately get killed. So if Buffalo is down, I like Josh Allen in-game rushing yards over the total. If Buffalo is up, I don't like those rushing yards at all, because I don't think he's looking to run. The only time Josh Allen is looking to run is when he has to take over the game, when he has to put the team on his back, take control, and just do what needs to be done. Just like you on WagerTalk last call, Joe.
Right. Okay. So you guys looking at Josh Allen's rushing yards going into the game, it's 32.5. So if it's playing out the way Prez is thinking, if we do see Buffalo down, look for that number to drop, because it will drop as the game goes on, and then you can take it to the over and get a better number than going into it at this.
If a gun was held to my head on that play, I would take over 32.5 rushing yards, because that's only 2.
Yeah, I hope no one's holding guns to your heads.
What are you talking about? I have guns to my head every day. I got 2 daughters and a wife and a mom. I got 4 women in my life. I live with guns held to my head.
Man, that's a hard household to be in, for us, for sure. What do you think of James Cook over 2.5 receptions? Coming in at +120, we're seeing in the chat, people dropping.
I got to tell you, Joe, I can't speak to that. I have no idea how many receptions James Cook averages on a year. These are just things that I per game. I just don't. I took a shot at betting props last year a little bit and the year before. And what I found was that I'm better off shooting myself in the head with that gun. I am horrible at betting props. I don't understand it. I can't study it. I mean, there is, Joe, I had to study every NFL game today. I had to study every NHL game. I got NBA. I got 3 million college basketball games. I got like 55 college football games a week. And now I'm supposed to figure out what each individual player on each individual team is going to do. Did I not mention I have 4 women in my life?
You do, and that's a lot of work.
Yeah.
I've only got one daughter. I couldn't imagine having multiples. That would be
listen, I wouldn't trade my youngest for any of them.
Okay.
For anybody. My eldest you can take for free.
We all have favorites, but okay. So you went over every game on the ice as well?
Yeah, you want
got
me to
anything for us on the ice tonight?
Let's
Prez,
go
before we let you go.
Okay, so a bunch of the 7:00 games have gone. Let's go to 7:37 games. Edmonton Oilers playing Tampa Bay. If there's a 6 out there, I really like the over in that game. Edmonton is really struggling to find any type of goaltending at all. There is no 6s left, but there were 6s earlier on. I still think that game gets to 7 goals, so I do like the over in that game. You got to like the Blackhawks. And the Blackhawks are playing with free money right now. If you're watching them on the ice, they're super loose. That's what I love to see in a team. There's a lot of joy coming out of Chicago right now. They're playing a Seattle team that sort of feels like the opposite. This team had expectations coming into the season and really are not living up to it. There's a negative cloud over Seattle. I like Chicago. Vegas is a bet on team moving forward, not only tonight, but I'd say bet them the next 5 games blind and bet them all in regulation. There you go. Next 5 Las Vegas Golden Knights games, all in regulation. We'll check back in 10 days to see how that did. Colorado and the Rangers, I would look to take the over in this game, but I hate this game. Ottawa and Anaheim, I'd like to take the dog here in Anaheim plus 110. I like the over in the San Jose game, and I like the over in the Dallas-Vancouver game. And Dallas and Vancouver, just for the record, are on a 10-0 run to the over and are 16-4-1 on the year to the over.
Wow. Nice picks there. Anyone looking at those scores out there on the ice, Washington Capitals already have netted a goal versus Montreal Canadiens. Montreal looking to end that slide there tonight, Prez. But thanks so much for joining us here for Last Call. What else do you have to say? I see you're pointing.
No. I was just going to say, but interesting enough, Washington has been on a worse slide than Montreal. They did win last night. But I would tell you guys now, I would go look to grab Montreal in game right now. I think Washington's in a tough spot. It's a travel day, back-to-back situation, and they played a super speedy team last night in a real high-scoring game. They're going to run out of legs. So Joe Dog writes he took the Capitals money line. I love that bet. But now that Montreal is down, grab Montreal on the money line and middle this thing.
Yeah, absolutely. You got Montreal at plus 142 currently on the
there
money
you
line,
go. So I like that bet.
Okay. Well,
Joe, I hear you got Sean Alvarez coming on.
I do. Are you going to sing the song? I heard there's a song.
You know, I asked people to tweet out the Sean Alvarez song, and I was going to give 100 free wager bucks to the best Sean Alvarez song impersonator. Nobody has done it. So I ask you guys again, people watching WagerTalk Last Call, please do the Sean Alvarez song, put it up on Twitter, tag Sean and I. My favorite version will get $100 of wager bucks. So, and the song goes like this, Joe. Sean Alvarez, Sean Alvarez, Sean Alvarez.
And you got to do the arm movement, right? Like that.
You have to. Yeah, you have to do the arm, and I'm rocking back and forth. It's an intricate dance. It's like the Macarena. There's not just one move.
Can I enter?
Yeah. Yes. Yes.
I'm in.
Joe, I will give you $200 worth of wager bucks.
Well, you haven't heard my voice yet. Just wait.
Financial free focused. My favorite NHL over tonight was the Vancouver Canucks and Dallas over, but it was 5.5 last night. Then it was 6 all day, and now it's 6.5. And I very rarely bet over 6.5s. Sean, I love seeing you, man. Take over, kick ass, be nice, give out winners. Namaste.
Thanks, Prez. You got. Thanks,
Bye.
Prez, for joining us here today. Bye. You guys, that was the Prez. Make sure you do head on over to WagerTalk.com. Forgot to ask him everything he's got for sale over there. He gave you basically all of his bets on the ice tonight. So head on over. But Sean, thanks for being here. So I have to hear, before we get into this game, how did the Sean Alvarez song start? Who started that?
It was all Prez. It was all Prez. We went head to head. I know it was the Raiders. I can't remember who they were playing, but I had the under, he had the over. With us watching the morning slate on Sundays on WagerTalk's YouTube channel, it was just kind of us going back and forth. And every time, something good would happen for him, he would just start screaming out my name. And, with Prez, it eventually just turns into a song.
Oh, I absolutely love it. Okay, let's talk this Thursday night football game. The Buffalo Bills taking on the Houston Texans. We're seeing those lines sitting pretty solid, still 5.5s out there. Couple of 5s, though, for Buffalo, laying only the 5 points now. Actually, more are popping up. The more I look, the more 5s I'm seeing, Sean. You guys shop those lines over at Odds Logic, depending on which way you're liking this. You can still grab 5.5 for Houston at FanDuel and DraftKings, but you're looking at 5s basically everywhere else except for Pinnacle. So Sean, going into this one, I know you got props for us. How are you targeting the prop market for your first bet?
Yeah, so, I was kind of looking at that, and, one thing that really jumped out to me on the Odds Logic page as we were kind of logging into this was Circa moved to -4, and I haven't seen it move yet. So that kind of jumped out to me, but I do lean the Buffalo Bills in this game. I thought the opening line, and, like Prez said, you don't take too much weight on those opening lines that move so quickly. But you and I have talked about it in previous shows, in previous weeks. The NFL is a really big overreaction type market. And I thought that the way that the Bills played, a really poor game against the Dolphins 2 weeks ago, Josh Allen missing wide open receivers, throwing it right to the Dolphins secondary. And he did play better last week, but it was against a banged up Tampa Bay team that really hasn't put their best foot forward recently. So, but I kind of saw it as an overreaction. I've seen it, at least kind of in my mind, or is how I've seen recent years with this Bills team. They kind of start off hot, and then they kind of go down and play mediocre football, and then they ramp up, and Josh Allen kind of turns into that MVP type Josh Allen, and then, maybe not necessarily Super Bowl MVP type odds, but this is when they start turning around their team. And I really think that this is kind of that get right type game for Josh Allen, coming off such a good effort last week against a banged up Houston Texans team. And while they can stop the run, they struggle against the pass, and they struggle against running quarterbacks. So I do lean the Bills here as far as the side goes. But I was looking at, the first thing I was looking at was the Bills, and, they give up 5.4 yards per carry running. So I was kind of looking at, who's going to get most of the carries? Are they going to go over their total? And then I see this Woody Marks. When I first handicapped it, the over-under was up at 69.5. Now it's down to 63.5. And while he's getting the majority of the carries with Nick Chubb kind of being banged up, Nick Chubb's getting a little bit more healthy. I think Nick Chubb gets a little bit more carries tonight. And if you look at what Woody Marks has done, with the majority of the carries, he's only gone over 63 rushing yards once in this year. And that was dating back, week 4 against the Titans. So, I do think that he's going to lose a few carries to Nick Chubb. And then I agree with Prez. I think the Bills kind of stacked the box against the run and forced Davis Mills to beat him with his arm, something that we haven't necessarily seen him do since taking over for CJ Stroud. So I went under 63.5 rushing yards for Woody Marks, and I saw it at -110. So we're not having to lay juice with it either.
Oh, that is definitely a nice price out there. If anyone's looking at those Nick Chubb props, his number's coming in at 21.5. If you think he's going to get the work, do you think Nick Chubb, I know it's not one of your official free bets, but do you think Nick Chubb could get to 21.5? It seems a little light.
I mean, I think he can. Like I said, the Bills, struggling against the run. It's definitely something that, the Texans should want to try to exploit tonight. My only concern with that, like I had mentioned, me agreeing with Prez, they may have to abandon the run if they're down, 21-3 at halftime type of thing. If they keep this game close, I definitely like the over Nick Chubb instead of the Woody Marks. And, similar to what Prez was saying, as far as betting on Josh Allen's rushing props, I definitely would take it kind of more live in game as opposed to laying it pregame.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. 32.5 is Josh Allen's rushing prop going into this one, you guys. So make sure you get that number at a better number if you're betting it in game. Now, I did take one here, Sean, for Davis Mills. I took him over for his rushing prop, 8.5. It's a light number. We've seen him go over this twice so far in these starts. Versus Denver, he only hit 7. Now, this number has gone up from 7.5, but he was able to get, 20 on the Jags. He had 14, I believe, on the Ravens. Like, he's being strong in a couple of these. No, the Ravens, it was only 3. There was one other team he was able to get 20 yards on, 14 yards on one as well. So what do you think of Davis Mills coming out here for CJ Stroud? Are you worried at all with him under center?
I mean, I'm slightly worried. I mean, I'm not, the biggest Davis Mills fan, but I think he's, definitely a respectable backup quarterback. And that wouldn't, if I was still a Chargers fan, I wouldn't be looking for them to trade and suit him up, every Sunday. But I do kind of like that, especially, if you agree with how I think that the Bills are going to stack the box. If they're stacking the box and they're blitzing consistently, they have to play man-to-man behind that. And we've talked about it in previous rushing props for quarterbacks. As soon as the secondary turns their back and he's got a little bit of a seam to run through, I mean, he can rip off 15, 16, 20 yards before they can even figure out that he's pulled it down and he's escaped the pocket. So it's not necessarily something I'm running to the window to bet, but I wouldn't talk you off of Davis Mills over his rushing yards prop.
Okay, we got to talk James Cook here of the Buffalo Bills. What are your thoughts on him in tonight's game? How much play do you think he gets?
Yeah, I mean, again, this kind of goes back to how I think the game's going to be played. And I do think that the Bills are going to get ahead early. I think, they're going to try to air out the ball a little bit and expose this Houston secondary. But, eventually when you get up by a big margin, you want to, shorten the game, get the clock, keep the clock moving. And that's just going to keep feeding James Cook the ball. And then on top of that, he ripped off 66 yards on 3 catches last week. He had 24 yards the week before that. So he's also a part of the passing game for the Bills. And if he gets a screen in space, he can take it to the house and kind of get me ahead of this prop. So I'm not going to lean on his rushing yards just because we've seen him struggle a little bit with 53 yards against Miami, 48 yards the next week, last week against Tampa Bay. So I'm going to add his receiving yards and his rushing yards and go over 99.5. And that's still not being juiced very high at -114 over at DraftKings.
Oh, that is a nice price, over the 99.5 for the rushing and receiving. Love where you're going there. And I know you've got one more prop out there for us coming from the Houston Texans side of things.
Yeah, I mean, again, when I'm looking at props, I'm really looking at, how the game's going to be played. And I don't want to, be a broken record, but I do think that Houston's going to be forced to throw the ball. And we saw Christian Kirk, not necessarily a big part of this offense, but, he was catching 3 to 4 passes a game, getting 4 to 8 targets early on. And then he went down with an injury. And now he's got to have to, get in a little bit of an establishment with Davis Mills as opposed to early on with CJ Stroud. But he has 2 catches, 1 in each of the games in the last 2 games. But he has 3 targets against Jacksonville, 4 targets against Tennessee. So this coaching staff for the Texans is trying to get him the ball. And he had a really low prop over at DraftKings. It was juiced over 15 receiving yards, around -140. I don't like laying juice. I like to, lay a little bit, make a lot. So I bumped up his receiving yards to over 25, and we're getting a nice price at +176. Well, Christian Kirk is averaging 24 yards receiving a game. So just need him to be a little bit more involved in the offense tonight. And I think we can get over that with a really juiced price in our favor.
I love that plus money that you're getting there. Okay, so I have to ask, you're leaning towards the Bills, but you've got nothing here for Josh Allen. Why'd you stay off Josh Allen's numbers tonight?
It's kind of one of those things where he has a big game the week before. I really think that the defense is going to try and not necessarily take him out of the game. I mean, it's very difficult, if not impossible, to take out Josh Allen at quarterback for the Bills. But I just thought that they were going to target him a little bit, make sure that he stays within the pocket, maybe a QB spy. And when quarterbacks or even players have such big games, what like we talked about, at the beginning of my segment here, NFL is an overreaction league. So it was kind of one of those I just wanted to stay away from, whether it was the defense limiting his opportunities or just too juiced or too high of props.
Yeah, you talk about that juice, and you're looking at Josh Allen for that anytime rush and touchdown coming in at minus 120. That is pricey. James Cook sit in the second favorite for the touchdown at minus 105. And then you're looking at plus money as soon as you talk anyone here for the Houston Texans. Woody Marks coming in, you guys, at plus 110. Nico Collins at plus 140. I know you don't have any official touchdown props for us here, Sean, but if you were leaning on anyone with your game plan, who do you think has the possibility of getting in the end zone for the people?
I had this 1 second. It was actually something I wrote down. I kind of like Dawson Knox. I think Dalton Kincaid is a big target for Josh Allen. He's out of the game. They don't necessarily have a good third and fourth string tight end. So if anything, I'm just trying to get a little bit of a plus money. I'm definitely not laying juice on an anytime touchdown type prop. And I would go after Dawson Knox. I'm not sure exactly what his line was.
Plus 330 right now.
Plus 3. Yeah, well, I'll take that.
Yeah, that is a great price for Dawson Knox for that anytime touchdown. We know he has quite capable of getting in the end zone. Yeah, and that's where you're starting to get that great plus money for the Buffalo Bills. Further down, you could look at Josh Palmer there at plus 440. And then if you think for Houston that Nick Chubb's going to run it in, you guys, he's plus 470. Not sure I can go there, but man, this should be an interesting game. I love those defensive touchdowns, so just want to note them, you guys. If you think Houston's going to force Josh Allen into a mistake, we did see it versus Miami, versus the Falcons as well. That defensive touchdown for Houston coming in at plus 950. Everyone keeps talking about this defense, Sean. What do you think of the defense here? Do you think they're going to be game changers in this one?
I don't necessarily think they're going to be game changers. I kind of think, like I said, I think the Bills are going to try and stop the Houston running game, force Davis Mills into throwing the ball. Maybe he makes a couple mistakes, but I don't think they're necessarily going to be game changers. And I do think that the Bills are going to kind of, I wouldn't necessarily say run up the score, but if anything, I kind of like that Prez over 24.5 points for the Bills. I just don't think the Texans are going to be able to slow down Josh Allen. And I do think this is kind of a get right spot for James Cook in the running game.
Okay. And then you've been on the end zone every single weekend here. Going into this one, do you have any live betting strategies if we see adjustments in this game? Like if you see the Texans come out big, are you going to come in on Buffalo on the money line?
Yeah, that would probably be something I would look at. We've talked about it before with, let the Bills go up and then you get a nice maybe 11, 12 and a half with Houston. But I'd be looking the exact opposite way. I would not be looking at getting a juicy number on Houston. Maybe they backdoor if it gets ugly late and you get a plus 18 or something like that. But yeah, I mean, hopefully, maybe the Houston gets the ball first, goes down, kicks a field goal. Maybe you get 3.5 or 3, kind of more of a key number for the Bills. But yeah, I wouldn't be looking to get a nice number on Houston. I'd be looking to get a lower number on the Bills.
So there you guys have it. You have it here. The Prez will jump in on Josh Allen when that rushing prop goes down, as long as they're from behind in that one. And then Sean Alvarez looking at the Bills if they go down to get them on that nice price. But Sean, you've got so much going on. I know you're a part of the Weekend Warrior package. What can people expect when they grab that from you?
Yeah, I love the Weekend Warrior deal, especially if you're betting both college football and NFL. And so for $49, you're getting all of my college football plays on Saturday, as well as all of my NFL plays on Sunday. And that's already about a $10 discount if you're already just getting college football Saturday, NFL Sunday. But then we're adding our Monday night NFL plays as well. So getting a pretty big discount if you're already betting football. And as we all know, if you're logging into this show, you probably are betting football. So go over to WagerTalk.com, take advantage of the Weekend Warrior deal, get a little bit of a discount on it. I'm on a 7-2 run on my last 9 college football plays, and I'm on a 10.7% ROI on the entire NFL season. So I am doing well in my college football and NFL plays. So make sure you're going over to WagerTalk and taking advantage of that deal.
Yeah, you guys definitely want to take advantage of that. But also, you're so big into the horses. What can people get for your packages out there for the horses, Sean?
Yeah, I try to keep it a little bit lower on horse racing, and I'm focused on Del Mar right now. We've got the Bing Crosby season, their version of the fall season. I believe it goes until early December, and then we jump up to Santa Anita and kind of all over the country. So again, for just $15, you get all of my full card selections for every race at the track that I'm offering that day, as well as suggested wagers. So definitely take advantage of that. I am crushing my top pick winners. Dating back to February, I'm at a 17% ROI. So.
Wow, that is absolutely fantastic, especially dating back that long. So not short-term results, you guys, long-term results. We're already in November here, Sean, but people can catch you this weekend on the End Zone?
I assume so. We haven't gotten the schedule yet, but I assume I will be on for the second half games.
Okay, well, have fun. All the best in all of your bets, and thanks for joining me here for Last Call, the Primetime Preview.
I appreciate it. I will see you Sunday.
We'll see you Sunday. Okay, guys, that was Sean Alvarez. Make sure you do head on over to WagerTalk.com. Not only doing everything out there on the football field, but things with the horses as well. And you don't want to miss out on all of that. Seeing all of your comments coming in. I see the love for Davis Mills for his rushing yards. And I still am heavy on that one, you guys. I will be shocked if he doesn't get double-digit rushing yards out there on the ground. So you can still jump in at 8.5 for Davis Mills. His number was 7.5 at open, and it was hanging there still till last night at 7.5. We did see that fire up to 8.5 as of today. So I'm expecting him to have to use his legs in this game. And I do think there's some defensive props that you guys want to look at. So we heard from the guys. I got to give you my best bets in this game before I send you on your way. So I'm looking at a couple of things defensively. I do think Will Anderson of the Houston Texans will be all over Josh Allen tonight. So looking at him for the anytime sack, he's juiced, right? He's minus 132. But if you parlay that with Hunter at minus 112, the two of them together coming in at plus 191. That is something that I already did because I do expect both of them to put that pressure on Josh Allen tonight and be able to get to him. I love this defense that we're seeing out of Houston, and I think that they're going to be able to hang tight. I did take the Houston Texans when I was able to get the 6. Now, I sprinkled on the money line. I do think there's a possibility of an upset, and I know against the Buffalo Bills, it's a lot to ask for, but I think if this defense comes out and plays the way that I expect, we're going to see a lower scoring game. That's a field goal style game. I don't think this is a touchdown style game. So within a field goal, I have to put a sprinkle on Houston to pull off the upset. So I'll look at Will Anderson and Daniel Hunter for the anytime sack parlay together at plus 191. But also something I added Joey Bosa. So I did the one parlay with just the two guys from Houston, and then I took Joey Bosa here from the Buffalo Bills for a sack as well. His anytime sack solo is plus 114 if you just want to play that straight. If you throw it into the 3-leg parlay for Anderson, Hunter, and Bosa, all for a sack, it's coming in at plus 516. Let me know if you guys are going to tail that. I'm definitely going to go there with that one, expecting this to be a defensive battle. Now, with it being a defensive battle, I do think the first half is where I want to look at that total instead of the full game. I'm a little worried about, the last minute throw up of the ball, and we're going to see a pick and then the defense run it back for one of these teams. Expecting more. So if Davis Mills is behind, we'll see that mistake out of him, which could blow this spread apart, right? Like if we do see that at the end, but taking that out of the equation, I'm taking the under 22.5. in the first half. So the under 22.5 in the first half coming in at -105. I expect this game to start off slow. So I'm going to go there with that. I also looked here, like I said, at Davis Mills for his rushing props. I looked at Woody Marks for his longest rush. It's coming in at 15.5. I don't think it's too much to ask. We know the Buffalo Bills have struggled defensively against the run. And I think Woody Marks is going to start turning things around. So over 15.5 for his longest rush attempt for Woody Marks is coming in right now at +102. So I think it's a great way to go. I stayed off the touchdown props in this game, you guys. Like I was saying, Josh Allen is -120 for an anytime touchdown. We know he has every capability of running it in, and I do think he sneaks one in today, but it's just your juice tolerance. If you're comfortable laying -120 on a prop that, he could, and maybe he doesn't, maybe he just passes it off because Houston's defense really is smothering him in this one. I'm just not willing to take it. I do think I'd look at more plus money. I liked where Sean Alvarez was going. Looking further down at Dawson Knox there for the Buffalo Bills, because you're getting that +330. And I think if you're looking here at the Houston Texans, I would look at Nick Chubb. I think Nick Chubb may be a little bit healthier than we're kind of led to believe going into this game. I think he plays a pivotal role. I like him over his rushing yards, and at +470 for the anytime touchdown, I could definitely see it come into play in this game. Now, those defensive touchdowns I talk about, those are a sprinkle, especially in this one. Houston's defense, if they can do it, it's +950. If you're looking at Buffalo's defense to do it at +800, we do have a backup quarterback in Davis Mills, but I'm not sure he's put into those situations where he takes the chances. Now, everyone talking about Josh Allen running it in. Well, what about Davis Mills? With the defense here at Buffalo, can we see Davis Mills run it in? Well, if he does run it in, you guys, it's +950. Let me know if you're brave enough to do it. I don't think I'll get to the window. I'll just look at his rushing prop to the over 8.5 now that it's at that number. But I think we're in for a really good game here tonight. I think it's better than most people expect, but still a defensive battle that stays under, probably tight to the very end. So J-Dog coming in here. Houston is still a wild card hunt. Yeah. So I think Houston has every ability. They're playing for so much out there, right? This team has a lot on the line. I know Buffalo does too, and they want the win. But and S. Warrior, we see eye to eye on Chubb. Yeah, I think Nick Chubb is in for a good night. But you guys, thanks for joining me here on the Primetime Preview last call on Wager Talk. Do me a favor, hit that like button, hit the notification button and subscribe button on YouTube if you're not already subscribed. So much going on the channel over here on Wager Talk that you don't want to miss out on all of the great free content. So you guys, all the best in this Thursday night football game. I hope it's better than some of these games we've had. There's been some really boring games with the defensive mindset of the Houston Texans. Could they shut down the offense here of the Buffalo Bills and we have a snooze fest? Could happen. Let me know your guys' thoughts. I really hope this is a good one. I do think the first half probably snooze fest. Second half, don't go to bed. I think the second half speeds out. You guys, all the best in all of your bets. Until next time, stay hot. Let's make some freaking money.